Over the past year, the LEGO Star Wars community has been eating good with the wide selection of sets based across different eras. 43 minifigures and 6,600 pieces later, we had the 2023 Summer Wave. Today, we will be continuing last year's tradition and we'll be taking a look at each of the 12 sets from the wave and trying to determine what the best sets are for your dollar. I'm Matt from the Hunter's Cantina, and you're watching my LEGO Star Wars 2023 Summer Wave Buyer's Guide. Let's get right into it. This year, we'll be starting off with the cheapest set of the wave, which is this year's 75363 Mandalorian N1 Starfighter Microfighter, which retails for $15.99 in the US and includes 2 minifigures and has 88 pieces. Despite the first-hand impression off price, the set isn't bad and acts as a cheap way to get the Mandalorian and Grogu. The Microfighter itself is really well put together as it's very durable and still has basic details. Both figures can sit inside the model, and in the front there are 2 stud shooters for playability. Although I don't condone the price of this set, it was still really good for what it's trying to be and has some A-tier minifigures. As we shift into the mech series of sets in the wave, just a disclaimer that my thoughts will get a little bit more repetitive. With that said, next up is 75369 Boba Fett Mech, which retails for $15.99 in the US and features 1 new minifigure and has 155 pieces. The Boba Fett minifigure included in the set is definitely S tier in terms of detail, but is just missing his signature shoulder cloth. On the topic of detail, the mech itself has tons of it. The mech looks great with the Boba Fett minifigure in it and even has a clip to attach his blaster when not in use. The cockpit has very easy accessibility, allowing for easy transitions when taking the figure out and putting him in. The mech also has a decent range of motion with a blaster that can move freely for different poses as well. The blaster also has a stud shooter on it, as well as the jetpack having a flick fire missile for playability. Overall, this set is a perfect approach to the new mech concept. Continuing the trend, our next set on the list is 75368 Darth Vader Mech, which retails for $15.99 in the US and includes 1 minifigure and has 139 pieces. The Darth Vader minifig is very detailed and accurate, just like the Boba Fett before. To keep it short, this mech can do just about everything the Boba Fett mech can, except there are no true play features other than being able to swing the large lightsaber around. I think the dark red and black armor plating looks exceptionally good on this set and really fits the theme. As a whole, this set does its job well, just like the last mech. Finishing up the mech series of sets, we have the 75370 Stormtrooper Mech, which once again retails for $15.99 in the US and includes 1 minifigure and has 138 pieces. You guys already know the drill, so I'm just going to go and skip the whole in-depth thing and say that the set also does have a good minifigure and does everything the other 2 can do. It does have a stud shooter for playability though, and it's worth noting that the design is really bare bones and lacking much detail. Like the others, the set makes a fine toy, but unique and fun features are definitely absent. Moving on from the $16 threshold that seems to have lasted forever, next up is 75359 332nd Ahsoka's Clone Trooper Battle Pack, which retails for $19.99 in the US and includes 4 minifigures and has 108 pieces. The figures of the set are great, but I must admit I wish there were some more distinguishing details on Vaughn to separate himself from the others, like a few dark orange markings on the helmet, or even some better visor details. Besides the figures, there is a small turret with a stud shooter that works well next to a figure. The Swamp Speeder on the other hand looks great, but is quite underwhelming in size. Other than that, it has places for 2 minifigures and has 2 wide-facing stud shooters for playability. It also has 2 clips to put minifigure accessories when not in use. Honestly, a really well put together set with just a few disappointing flaws. Next on our list, we have the 75360 Yoda's Jedi Starfighter, which retails for $34.99 in the US and includes 2 figures and has 253 pieces. The figure choice is simple, but they look great with the modern details that LEGO has added to them. As for the Starfighter itself, I genuinely can't say anything bad about it. The ship has just the perfect amount of room to fit Yoda in the cockpit and R2 in the back. There's also 2 spring-loaded shooters mounted under the cockpit and a clip for Yoda's lightsaber on the back. Lastly, you are able to fold and unfold the wings as you please to put the ship between landing and flight mode. The only thing I could really nitpick about is just accuracy, since the mounted cannons should really be attached to the wings rather than the core build. Honestly, I think it's apparent to most that this set is a pretty solid and great addition to the wave. Reaching our semi-halfway point on the list, we have the 75361 Spider Tank, which retails for $49.99 in the US and features 3 figures and has 526 pieces. I believe this set takes the cake for some of the best minifigures to come out of this wave, with an insane level of detail. While unfortunate that the droid creature was not included in the set, it's understandable in my opinion. The tank itself is chock full of details and play features which make for a very fun experience. For example, a hidden compartment that has 2 stud shooters and enough room to fit a figure inside. Along with this, the claws have studs on them, allowing for figures to be attached. On top of all this, it's extremely satisfying to move the model around on hard surfaces to hear the clicking and feel the springiness of the legs. Honestly, LEGO did a fantastic job making this a detailed and interactive model to play with. Following that, next up on our list is the 75362 Ahsoka Tano's T6 Jedi Shuttle, which retails for $79.99 in the US and includes 4 new minifigures and has 601 pieces. Each of the 4 figures included are extremely detailed and fit the theme of the set well. The Sabine minifigure comes decked out with accessories in the set such as a hairpiece, blasters, and a lightsaber. As for the shuttle itself, it looks absolutely fantastic from a top and front view. However, upon flipping the model over, that detail doesn't continue over. This is especially disappointing because one of the key features of the set is to rotate it on its side, which probably makes this a good time to mention that the wings of the ship can be rotated a full 360 degrees. Under the model, you can also find some landing gear, which can be easily folded in and out. Next to the cockpit area, you'll also find 2 stud shooters for playability, along with next to it having easy access to the small cockpit, where a figure can be seated. Besides play features, a few flaps can be opened up in the back of the model to reveal a storage space for minifigure accessories. I think as a whole, the set is pretty good, but just suffers from a few major flaws that could also be related to the smaller size of the set. Next up on our list, we have the 75364 New Republic E-Wing vs. Shin Hati's Starfighter, which is the first triple-digit set retailing for $109.99 in the US, featuring 5 new figures and has 1,056 pieces. All of the figures have extremely hyper-detailed designs and also include a hairpiece for the E-Wing pilot. As for the E-Wing build, it looks very visually appealing and it's plentiful with play features. First of all, the ship has some retractable landing gear. On top of the model, you'll also find a droid port for the astromech included in the set. Accessing the cockpit is easy and it reveals a nice interior for the figure and even has a storage compartment underneath the pilot's seat. Just under the cockpit, you'll also find some really well hidden stud shooters as well. Finally, I thought it was worth noting that the ship features some really good building techniques. The same can be said as we transition over to Shin's Starfighter. A variety of colors and design choices lead to a very pleasing design. Just like the E-Wing, it has some front-mounted stud shooters, which is next to the ship's storage area, which consists of not 1, but 2 hold compartments that are big enough to fit an entire minifigure inside. Once again, the cockpit has enough room to comfortably fit a minifigure, and behind the cockpit as well, there's yet another storage area where you can put Shin's lightsaber. Overall, this dual pack makes for a great set with tons of functionality and swooshability. Next on our list is quite a controversial set, which is the 75354 Coruscant Guard Gunship, which retails for $139.99 in the US and features 5 brand new minifigures and has 1,083 pieces. The minifigure selection is absolutely magnificent, although truthfully, yes, Commander Fox does have some flaws which could have been addressed in my opinion. Besides that, the gunship has a lot to offer, from the ball-mounted gun turrets on the front and back of the model to the small storage compartments located behind the wings. Of course, just like last year's ATTE, the set has a handle for picking up the model for transportation and play as well. The double cockpit area is really well done and looks good when figures are placed inside. Below that though, there's a small open storage area to put even a figure or other accessories inside if you wish. Next to that are the sliding body doors, which reveal a nicely tiled interior compartment. While it can be fiddly at first to get figures inside due to its short overhead clearance, after a few attempts you get used to it. Lastly, the wingtips of the model each feature dual stud shooters for playability. Honestly, I think this set gets a lot of slack, even if it does have some major flaws pertaining to accuracy. Next on our list is the 75357 Ghost and Phantom 2, which retails for $159.99 in the US, includes 5 figures, and has 1,394 pieces. The minifigure lineup in this set is really stellar, and I think the same can be said for the set itself. Based purely off first impressions, the ship looks absolutely beautiful, accounting for all its details and unique parts usage. Touching on functionality, the front of the model features double blaster cannons, which also act as triggers for spring-loaded shooters when the cannons shift side to side. Above this, the entire cockpit section can pull out to gain easy access to the pilot seats. But don't worry, this is not your only point of interior access, as the panels underneath the model fold down, along with most of the ship's center section being able to detach. And inside the model, you will find a very spacious interior with various simplistic details. Speaking of the ceiling portion of the model, you can open the gunner's window and sit a minifigure inside the seat provided. Lastly, at the back of the ship are some nicely greebled engines, along with the port for the Phantom II. The Phantom II itself can sit nicely in the port, and is a great model on its own. There's also just enough room to put a figure inside of it, and a place to put Chopper's head. As a whole, it is a really great set with some very innovative building techniques that ultimately come together to create a really well-rounded model. And finishing off our summer wave for 2023, we have the 75364 Yavin 4 Rebel base, which retails for $169.99 in the US, includes a whopping 12 figures, and has 1,066 pieces. First of all, the minifigure lineup is probably one of the best from LEGO Star Wars to date, and they all have premium detail. Now, along with the base itself, however, there are a ton of small builds such as work lights and step ladders, along with a maintenance cart which can seat a few minifigures and has internal storage. The set also includes a really nice downsized Y-wing with a small cockpit and droid port, plus spring-loaded shooters for playability. As for the base itself, it's built entirely modular style, making for a fun experience. In the middle, there is a large hangar bay opening for the Y-wing, along with some nicely detailed slopes on either side. On the right side, you'll find a slightly off-putting tree with a watchtower, which can fit a minifigure and actually move up and down. Moving toward the inside of the base, on the left side you'll find a control area and a weapons rack, while on the right side there are a few storage boxes. As we move up a level, the left side you can find the war briefing room, and on the left is a control room that has a panel indicating the range of the Death Star. In the middle, however, you'll find some controls to operate 2 stud shooters and a small crate. I think it's also worth noting the nicely stickered blue panel screens on either side as well. On the very top of the base, you will also find a very small ceremony room that can fit roughly 7 figures if you squeeze them in. Above, you'll also even find a small radar dish. Overall, this set is absolutely incredible for play and display. And now, with all of our thoughts shared on each set, it's time to proceed into our rankings for which set from the summer wave should be crowned and glorified, and which should be utterly forgotten. Now, let's rank some sets. Ranking 12th and last from the wave is the Stormtrooper mech. Great set, but honestly really lacked detail and much uniqueness. 11th on our list goes to the Mandalorian N1 Starfighter Microfighter. Honestly, not at all horrible, but compared to other picks and its horrendous price, it's a no-brainer. Placing 10th, we have the Darth Vader mech. Again, not a bad set, but had some flaws pertaining to detail. 9th in our lineup is the 332nd Ahsoka Clone Trooper Battle Pack. This set only ranks so low because it has a pretty weak build with some figure flaws. 8th up, we have unfortunately Ahsoka Tano's T6 Jedi Shuttle. I had really high hopes for this set, but honestly the build is really flawed and lacks playability. Coming in 7th, we have Yoda's Jedi Starfighter. There's legitimately nothing wrong with this set, but I believe there are better sets to occupy higher spots. 6th, we have the Boba Fett mech. Being unbiased here, it's truly one of the best of the mech series, both minifigure, detail, and playability wise. 5th up, we have the Spider Tank. Excellent minifigures and lots to do with the set. 4th spot on our ranking goes to the Coruscant Guard gunship. I so badly wanted this set to make the top 3, but the other options had a lot more going for them. Making our 3rd place spot is the New Republic E-Wing vs Shin Hati's Starfighter. This set has so much going on and tons of storage, so you'll never lose your accessories. 2nd place and runner-up goes to the Ghost and Phantom 2. This set knocked it out of the ballpark with its level of accuracy and detail. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, the best set of summer 2023 is the Yavin 4 Rebel base. In all fields, this set dominated the competition. Its minifigures, price, details, playability, and displayability were all near perfect in ratio to create a set that most definitely earns its title. But what do you think? Do you agree or disagree with this year's ranking? I would love to know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed, go ahead and like and subscribe. It's totally free, and your support helps to keep this channel running. Now, before we head off though, I figured it'd be fun to share some calculated statistics. Unironically, the average set price for this wave was $69, which is surprisingly a whole $10 cheaper in comparison to the $79 of the 2022 summer wave. That being said, the average set in 2023 had a 551 pieces in comparison to the 645 pieces of the 2022 wave. And with that said, that's going to wrap it up for this year's Summer 2023 Buyer's Guide. I'm happy to once again continue the tradition and hopefully do so in the future as well. I'm Matt from the Hunter's Cantina. I thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one. You scoundrels.